Welcome back. I'm Dr. Cheek and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. And today we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. Now, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the understanding, the identification, and the verbalization of our internal emotional experiences. So being able to identify what we're feeling and how we're feeling, and being able to label what we're feeling and how we're feeling. Emotional maturity, on the other hand, is our ability to not only be able to identify our emotions, but be aware of our emotional responses and be able to regulate our emotional responses. Why is this important? Emotional intelligence and emotional maturity is important because when we're able to be emotionally in tune with ourselves and we're able to manage our emotional responses to situations, then we have a greater level of capability of being able to connect with others. So being able to understand the emotional responses from others, the emotions that others may feel, and being able to understand why people behave how they behave sometimes. That level of emotional understanding and emotional maturity allows us to understand ourselves and others a little bit more. And maybe we'll have a greater likelihood of being able to be empathetic to others and actually be understanding, and also be able to discern or make decisions about whose behavior we want to continue to allow in our lives because we understand what is driving those behaviors. The idea of being emotionally intelligent and emotionally mature means that we are able to understand that our emotions are, again, valid. However, they don't get to dictate how we behave and the behaviors that we find acceptable. And I want us to be able to distinguish between emotional maturity, which is our ability to manage and regulate our emotions. And what that looks like is for us to be able to understand that simply because I feel a way does not mean I get to behave a way. So simply because I'm angry does not mean I get to yell, throw things, break things, hit other people. That's when I have a different level of emotional maturity. I'm able to understand that because I'm angry, I may need to make some adjustments in order to deal with this person or this situation. But I'm not able to, in those moments, say because I'm angry, I get to behave in problematic ways. And I want us to distinguish between being able to be emotionally mature and emotionally immature by withdrawing our emotions or restricting our emotions because of the things that we fear about being able to be vulnerable about our emotions. Now, when we are emotionally immature, we may act out in ways that are not aligned with who we feel like we are internally. We may act out in ways that are not age appropriate or situation appropriate. So we may act out in ways that are not beneficial to ourselves or those around us. Also, when we are emotionally immature, we may withdraw or withhold our emotions from others as a way to either manipulate others in that situation or because we have a fear of being open about our emotions. We don't understand our emotions and ourselves well enough in order to allow people to understand how we're feeling. Most of us, when we have some level of emotional immaturity or some level of emotional growth that still has to be done, we fear that when we show our emotions to others, they may utilize those emotions to either get back at us, to make us hurt worse in certain ways, or to use them in a future possible attack. And this is why we may shut down or withdraw our emotions, because we feel like it's easier, it's safer, we're less vulnerable that way. However, we're not really less vulnerable. We're just cutting off connections, or we're cutting off our ability to make connections with others by withdrawing our emotions or pretending like we don't have those emotions. Being emotionally mature, it means I know how to regulate my emotions, but it doesn't mean that I shut down my emotions or don't allow myself to feel my emotions. It means that I'm well aware of how I'm feeling and I'm able to verbalize to you how I'm feeling, as well as show you how I'm feeling in more appropriate ways. I feel like sometimes we've gotten so used to people behaving in very toxic ways to uncomfortable emotions that we feel like that's how people are supposed to behave when in these certain situations. However, when we have emotional maturity, we're able to take a step back, deal with our emotions, and then respond to a situation the way we want to respond to meet our ultimate goal. Now, another thing that emotional maturity and emotional intelligence is not, it's not saying simply because I love someone that I have to be with this person or we have to be in a relationship. Is that understanding that I can love you, but I can also love you and not require that you be a part of my life or that I be a part of your life, because I understand the toxicity or the hurtful or harmfulness of us being in a relationship or being in our lives. That's what emotional maturity means. It doesn't mean that I'm going to accept problematic behaviors because I love you. It means that I'm going to understand where those problematic behaviors are coming from, and I'm going to decide, not based solely off my emotions, but based off my emotions and my desire and my goals in life, if I want to continue to pursue this relationship, this friendship, this whatever interpersonal relationship you have with this person. And again, I still understand that if I decide to move forward in this process, it is my choice. I cannot then say, I did this because I loved you. No, I'm not allowing my emotions to dictate how I respond to certain situations. I'm understanding what my emotions are, and I'm utilizing my emotions to understand, how do I want to proceed in this situation and what are my goals? I'm allowing myself to feel how I feel, but also using my logic and rational thought to determine how I want to proceed in this situation. So emotional intelligence is being able to know how you're feeling, being able to label how you're feeling, and being able to verbalize to others what you're feeling in order for you to also understand what someone else may be feeling in certain situations. Again, I don't ever want us to assume what someone else is feeling. I want you to have that understanding, and I want you to go into it with that same level of curiosity of saying, this is what I believe you're feeling. Is that what you're feeling in this moment? And then we have emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is being able to be aware of what you're feeling in that moment and being able to regulate your emotional responses or your behavior as it relates to how you're feeling emotionally in that moment. Not being able to stifle or restrict or stop yourself from responding or having an emotional response, but it means regulating or determining or deciding what that emotional response will be. Again, I hope you've learned something from watching this video. Take the time and the opportunity to jot down any questions or concerns you may have below. I thank you for listening, and I'll be seeing you again very soon. Thank you.